Hello, I'm Lillian O. Eloquaci, PhD. Aquaculture, the world's fastest-growing food production sector, is rapidly reshaping how we source our seafood. As Lillian O. Eloquaci, I've seen firsthand how aquaculture is transforming our global food system, from bustling fish farms in Norway to tilapia ponds in rural Nigeria. For example, by 2009, aquaculture was already producing more than 45% of the world's seafood, helping to meet the demands of growing populations and reducing pressure on wild fish stocks. However, as I, Lillian O. Eloquaci, often discuss with colleagues, this rapid growth brings real-world challenges, like nutrient pollution in coastal waters or the spread of disease from farmed to wild fish populations. The key question I explore is, what is aquaculture's true environmental footprint? Can we learn from innovative examples, like eco-friendly shrimp farms in Ecuador or integrated rice fish systems in Asia, to ensure aquaculture grows sustainably for future generations? Aquaculture has rapidly evolved into a true global powerhouse, producing nearly half of all seafood consumed worldwide. But the environmental impacts of aquaculture can differ dramatically. For example, inland freshwater ponds in Nigeria may face challenges with water use and nutrient runoff, while coastal cage farms in Norway must manage risks like disease spread and escapes into the wild. It's not just about increasing fish production, it's about adopting responsible methods. For instance, using modern water filtration or restoring mangroves near shrimp farms can help balance growth with environmental protection. The future of aquaculture depends on how we innovate and adapt these practices around the world. Aquaculture is generally divided into two main approaches: extensive and intensive systems, each with distinct methods and impacts. Extensive aquaculture often takes place in large natural ponds or lakes, where fish like tilapia or carp are raised with minimal human intervention. For example, in rural parts of Nigeria, local farmers rely on seasonal flooding to stock their ponds, using only natural food sources and allowing fish to grow at their own pace. Intensive aquaculture, on the other hand, is commonly seen in countries like Norway or China, where salmon or shrimp are raised in high-density tanks or cages. These systems use domesticated broodstock, carefully formulated feeds, and advanced technologies such as automated feeders and water recirculation to boost production far beyond natural levels. However, it is important to note that while intensive systems can produce much larger quantities of fish, they also generate significant environmental challenges. For instance, in some coastal regions, waste from intensive fish farms has led to water pollution and harmful algal blooms, prompting scientists to monitor water quality and develop better waste management practices. In extensive aquaculture systems, such as the traditional fish ponds seen across rural Asia and Africa, production levels typically range from 20 to 500 kilograms per hectare per year. These systems often suffer from high pollutant output because of limited resource management. For example, in some regions, fish waste and uneaten feed accumulate, leading to algae blooms and murky water that can harm both farmed and wild species. On the other hand, intensive aquaculture systems, like those found in Norway's salmon farms or China's high-density shrimp tanks, can produce between 5,000 and 100,000 kilograms per hectare annually. However, these impressive yields come at a cost. The waste output from intensive operations is much greater, often resulting in polluted waterways, fish kills, and ecosystem damage, such as the dead zones reported near some industrial fish farms in South America and Southeast Asia. While aquaculture brings many advantages, it also comes with notable environmental costs. For example, in regions like Southeast Asia, rapid expansion of shrimp farms has led to the destruction of vital mangrove forests. Nutrient runoff from fish farms can trigger harmful algal blooms, impacting local water quality and marine life. In Norway, salmon farming has raised concerns about the spread of sea lice to wild fish populations, a challenge frequently discussed in research. Let's explore these real-world issues and other significant environmental challenges facing aquaculture today. One of the most visible and significant environmental costs associated with aquaculture is the loss and degradation of natural habitats. For example, aquaculture farms are frequently established in ecologically sensitive areas like wetlands and mangrove forests. In Southeast Asia, thousands of hectares of mangroves have been cleared to make way for shrimp ponds, drastically altering the landscape. These habitats are not just visually stunning, They are essential for supporting biodiversity, providing breeding grounds for fish and birds, absorbing floodwaters during storms, and naturally filtering pollutants from water. When these areas are lost, as seen in places like the Niger Delta, local communities face increased flooding and declining fish stocks, directly impacting their livelihoods. Globally, about 10% of mangrove deforestation has been linked to shrimp farming. While this has slowed due to economic pressures and regulations, the loss of such ecosystems has far-reaching consequences, from coastal erosion to the loss of vital nursery habitats for marine species. Another environmental challenge is the release of pollutants. Aquaculture farms generate waste in the form of uneaten food, fish excretions, and chemicals used for disease control. In poorly managed systems, these pollutants are often discharged into nearby water bodies without adequate treatment. The most common pollutants include suspended solids, nitrogen, and phosphorus. These nutrients, while essential for growth, can lead to over-fertilization of water bodies. Excessive nutrients promote algal blooms and deplete oxygen, creating dead zones where marine life cannot survive. Over my many years as a fish farmer and researcher, I've witnessed firsthand how aquaculture can dramatically reshape local ecosystems and disrupt natural food webs. When I've helped set up fish farms in lakes or coastal regions, I've seen how introducing large numbers of a single species can tip the ecological balance in unexpected ways. In my experience, high-density fish farms, like the salmon operations I've studied in Norway or tilapia farms in Southeast Asia, often release uneaten feed and fish waste into the surrounding water. This excess of nutrients can trigger algal blooms and deplete oxygen, harming native fish and invertebrates and throwing the entire food chain out of balance. I've also observed how mollusk farming, such as the dense oyster and mussel farms in Chesapeake Bay, can lead to excessive nutrient uptake. These filter feeders can deplete phytoplankton, the foundation of the aquatic food web, ultimately reducing species diversity and affecting countless organisms that depend on these primary producers. My years in the field have shown me just how interconnected and sensitive these systems truly are. Dr. Lillian O. Elaquachi explains that in intensive fish farming systems, the imbalance of nutrients, often caused by excess feed and fish waste, can dramatically alter the species composition of the surrounding ecosystem. For example, Dr. Elaquachi points to cases where invasive species like farmed tilapia escape and outcompete native fish, such as catfish or perch, leading to their decline. In some regions, local fishermen have reported catching fewer native species and more farmed escapees, directly impacting their livelihoods. Dr. Elaquachi emphasizes that as certain species dominate, others are pushed out, resulting in a loss of biodiversity and ecosystem functionality. This can be seen in places where once diverse habitats become barren, and scientists find fewer species in water samples. Such changes not only threaten wildlife, but also disrupt the balance that local communities depend on for food and economic stability. One of the most pressing challenges facing aquaculture today is the rapid depletion of wild fish resources, especially those harvested for use in aquaculture feed. Many popular farmed fish species, such as salmon and shrimp, depend heavily on fish meal and fish oil made from wild-caught fish like anchovies, sardines, and menhaden. There are real-world examples, such as in Peru, where entire fisheries are dedicated to producing fish meal for export. In some cases, it can take up to 5 kilograms of wild fish to produce just 1 kilogram of farmed salmon, meaning certain types of aquaculture actually consume more wild fish than they yield as food. This growing demand puts significant pressure on marine ecosystems. For example, in coastal regions like the Gulf of Thailand, increased fishing activity has led to visible habitat degradation and declining biodiversity. Between 1986 and 1997, almost one-third of all global fisheries landings were processed into fish meal, primarily to feed farmed fish and livestock. In Peru, for instance, entire fleets were dedicated to catching anchoveta solely for fish meal production, impacting local food security. This high consumption rate further strains wild fish stocks that are already overexploited. In West Africa, local fishermen often return with empty nets, as industrial trawlers deplete fish populations for export and fish meal, threatening both livelihoods and marine balance. As Dr. Lillian O. Eloquaci explains, aquaculture, when managed responsibly, can actually offer significant environmental benefits. For example, Lillian O. Eloquaci often highlights how sustainable fish farms can reduce pressure on wild fish populations, helping to preserve marine ecosystems. In real-world situations, some aquaculture facilities recycle water and use fish waste as fertilizer for crops, turning potential pollution into a valuable resource. Lillian O. Eloquaci also points to projects where mangroves are planted around fish ponds, which not only protect coastlines but also create habitats for wildlife. These practical examples show that under the right conditions, aquaculture can be a force for environmental good. In aquaculture, effective pest control and weed management are essential for maintaining healthy fish populations and water quality. For example, fish like catfish are often introduced into ponds where mosquito larvae are a problem. Tilapia are natural predators of mosquito larvae. In many fish farms, tilapia are stocked specifically to help reduce mosquito populations, which can lower the risk of diseases like malaria in nearby communities. Instead of relying on chemical pesticides, it is recommended to use grass carp to control excessive aquatic weed growth. For instance, in commercial aquaculture operations, grass carp are introduced to ponds overrun with invasive plants, helping to restore balance naturally. By following this advice and using these biological controls, fish farmers can reduce the need for herbicides, protect water quality, and create a more sustainable aquaculture environment. Aquaculture doesn't just produce seafood, it can also play a vital role in water purification. For instance, in Chesapeake Bay, bivalve mollusks such as oysters are used in large-scale restoration projects. These oysters are natural filter feeders, capable of filtering up to 50 gallons of water per day each. By removing excess nutrients and organic material, they help reduce harmful algal blooms and improve water clarity. Similar approaches are being adopted in places like New Zealand and China, where mussel and clam farms are strategically placed to clean polluted coastal waters, demonstrating how aquaculture can be a practical solution for environmental challenges. Aquaculture plays a vital role in helping depleted wild fish stocks recover. For example, in the Caspian Sea, hatcheries raise and release juvenile sturgeon to restore populations threatened by overfishing. There are also efforts in the Pacific Northwest, where young salmon are bred in hatcheries and released into rivers to support dwindling wild stocks. In Africa, community-led projects introduce tilapia fingerlings into local lakes, helping both the environment and local livelihoods. Through these practical initiatives, aquaculture can directly contribute to the revitalization of struggling aquatic species. Wetlands and mangroves are not just beautiful landscapes. They are vital ecosystems that filter water, support biodiversity, and shield coastal communities from storms and erosion. For example, in Southeast Asia, mangrove roots trap sediments and pollutants, improving water quality for both people and wildlife. These natural barriers reduce the impact of tidal surges, protecting villages and aquaculture farms alike. Aquaculture can play a key role in preserving these habitats. In Bangladesh, for instance, shrimp farmers are now required to maintain wetland buffers, creating economic incentives for conservation while sustaining their livelihoods. There are successful projects in Indonesia, where aquaculture operations are integrated with mangrove reforestation. Farmers plant mangrove saplings around their ponds, restoring lost forests and improving fish yields. These real-world efforts transform environmental degradation into opportunities for restoration, demonstrating that sustainable aquaculture and healthy wetlands can thrive together. According to Dr. Lillian O. Eloquaci, the foundation of a sustainable future is built on responsible aquaculture practices that balance growth with environmental care. Dr. Eloquaci emphasizes the importance of implementing best practices, such as reducing waste by recycling water in recirculating aquaculture systems, restoring habitats like mangroves near fish farms, and using sustainable feeds made from plant-based ingredients instead of wild-caught fish. By following these real-world examples, Dr. Lillian O. Eloquaci believes we can minimize the environmental impacts of aquaculture, ensuring healthy ecosystems and a thriving industry for generations to come. Sustainable aquaculture is not just a concept, it's a practical solution that can help feed the world's rapidly growing population. For example, Fish farms in Norway use recirculating aquaculture systems to minimize waste and protect surrounding waters, ensuring that food production does not compromise the health of our ecosystems. In Vietnam, farmers integrate mangrove forests with shrimp ponds, creating habitats for wildlife while producing seafood. These real-world examples show that finding the right balance allows us to thrive and protect our planet for future generations. Dr. Lillian O. Elaquachi here. Let's talk about the future of aquaculture in real terms. What will it look like and how can we guide it? The future is in our hands. For example, when communities like those in Southeast Asia restore mangroves around fish farms, they not only boost fish yields but also protect coastlines from erosion. As I've seen firsthand, collaboration between scientists, farmers, and local leaders is key. By making informed decisions, like adopting integrated systems where fish and plants grow together, or using water recycling technologies, we can ensure aquaculture supports both people and the planet. I, Lillian O. Elaquachi, have witnessed how these innovations transform communities, providing jobs and cleaner water. Let's follow the example of successful projects worldwide. Monitor water quality, harvest responsibly, and always innovate. Together, with commitment and creativity, we can protect our environment and secure a sustainable food future. This is Dr. Lillian O. Elaquachi inviting you to be part of this journey. Thank you for joining me as we explored the real-world challenges and solutions in sustainable aquaculture. From farm workers carefully monitoring fish health to scientists testing water quality on-site, these efforts are shaping the future of food production. If you want to stay updated with the latest research and practical tips from experts, don't forget to subscribe. You'll get first-hand insights into how communities are balancing growth with environmental care. Explore the additional resources linked below, whether it's case studies on mangrove restoration, guides for small-scale fish farmers, or interviews with aquaculture innovators. These tools can help you make informed decisions in your own community. Stay connected and join a global network of scientists, farmers, and citizens working together for a more sustainable and thriving aquatic environment. Let's make a difference, one step at a time. If you enjoyed this video, hit like and subscribe for more videos at my YouTube channel, Delta 360 Impact, the Aquaculture Chronicles.